Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Select Board meeting here for March 9th, 2021. As a preliminary matter, my name is Peter Carlson, and I will be chairing the Town of Grafton Select Board meeting this evening. Please permit me to confirm that all members anticipated are on this agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I please call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ms. DeFazio.
DeFazio present.
Mr. Rofton.
I am here.
Mr. Frisbee.
Here.
Ms. Roy.
Roy here.
Peter Carlson is here. Staff members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Evan Broussard.
Here.
William Blake.
Here.
Lisa Kelly.
Present.
Good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Town of Grafton Select Board is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of the emergency in the Commonwealth due to the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend all public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspended requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted at the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature any public comment for any public hearing. This meeting of the Select Board is being convened by Zoom and is posted on the town's website for identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and that take care to not screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording and viewed by others. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body are available at the town's website and when final minutes are posted. Otherwise, unless noted, the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, the chair, will note otherwise. Before we turn to our first item on the agenda this evening, please allow me to just cover some basic ground rules. I will introduce each of the speakers on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each of you to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please wait till I yield the floor to you before you speak and carry on. And then if there are to be any motions taken tonight, for any reason, they will be done by roll call vote. All right, so first up on our agenda this evening, I want to thank Ms. Lisa Kelly here, who is our outreach worker who works for the Council on Aging with the Town of Grafton. I was originally going to have her come and present to us in later next month in April, but due to some availability in our schedule, I asked her if she would attend our meeting earlier than anticipated, and she was happy to do so to talk about food insecurities. And she's going to spend a few minutes and just update the board on just the current state of affairs. And I believe, Ms. Kelly, you're going to share with us how we may be able to help as a community and how we can further support. So I want to turn the floor over to you and thank you for coming out tonight.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Thanks, everybody. You know, I love to talk about my work. So my name is Lisa Kelly. I'm the outreach worker at the Grafton Senior Center, and I've been doing that for about 11 years. Recently during COVID, my boss, Barbara Connolly, and I underwent training through the DTA, which is the Department of Transitional Assistance, to become a SNAP intake site. And what that means is that people from Grafton can now come directly to us and apply instead of trying to compete with a bunch of other towns and cities for a spot for an interview. SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It was formerly known as food stamps, and it is such a necessity. It was a necessity before. Now with COVID and unemployment, it's even more necessity. There is more food insecurity than there's ever been. So Barbara and I were really excited about this, and I wanted to tell as many people as possible. Because of the pandemic and because things are hard for everybody right now, we've opened the program up to all Grafton residents. So of course there's, financial constraints. You have to fit the guidelines, but if you are in need of nutrition, if you are having a hard time paying for your food, please call me at 508-839-9242, and I'm more than happy to do an intake for you. We send you a release. Once that's signed, we can do a 20-minute interview, and I can get all the information with you, and I can send it in for you. One of the greatest things about COVID, if you can say, you know, it's a learning. We had to learn. We had to diversify how we work. I can do it over the phone, as a lot of things I've learned to do over the phone recently. So that's great. I'm really excited about it. We want as many people to come and apply or call and apply as possible. We want this to just touch everyone. So that's my pitch for SNAP.
Well, thank you for coming in tonight, Lisa. Before I turn it over to any members, have any questions first for Lisa? Mr. Hoffman, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, Lisa, in your estimation, what do you think the least utilized resource that you guys provide is? What should, you know?
That's hard, Matt, because, you know, we are one of the most busy senior centers all around the county. We have people from Shrewsbury, Worcester, Millbury, Uxbridge, Northbridge coming to our senior center. So really, I mean, you know, we have exercise classes when we're open, 3 or 4 a day. The gym is packed. The gym is packed from front to back. We have people that come in for lunch every day, crafters that come in every day. They have a huge room where they make crafts. They make crafts, they sell crafts, they donate it back to the senior center. It's wonderful. People use the vans all the time for doctor's appointments, even if they can drive themselves. Say you're going for an eye doctor appointment, or say you're going to Worcester. They don't want to do that, so they utilize the vans. We've implemented, Elder Services Worcester started a grab and go. So instead of signing up for Meals on Wheels with a schedule, people can call in and pick and choose what they want and come to the back door and grab it. And that's, I mean, it's like a bus stop all day long, people coming and going. I'm glad you asked this question because we have so much that we can offer. So it reminds me of how many things we have. We have a utility closet that is full of things like walkers, wheelchairs, canes, all sorts of things that people donate. You know, the grabbers they donate. Sometimes there's a splint. The biggest thing that we have is adult undergarments, and they are so expensive. So we really try and push that because, I mean, if you're a senior and you're on a budget, those things are expensive and they're necessary, and you have to change them often to be healthy. So I strongly encourage anybody that needs any kind of equipment, before you go out and buy it, please call us and see if we have it already. And I mean, it's plentiful. So let's see, what else do we offer? SMOC. I do intake for SMOC as well, which is Self-Middlesex Opportunity Council. That's the fuel assistance we use. And it's really busy. It's utilized a lot. There's a lot of recertifications, but I have a bunch of new people every single year. So I really can't answer your question in the negative because
Well, it sounds like the answer is don't be shy. Reach out.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I should have said with the SNAP program, along with everything else we do, everything's kept very confidential. You know, what happens at the senior center stays at the senior center. Except I have one picture of a woman drinking wine out of a bottle when we were on a field trip one day.
Sounds like fun. Just one follow-up question. Do you have any statistics on the number of constituents that you sort of service, families or individuals?
So the senior population is 60 or above is just under 4,000, I believe. I think it's like the same as the school age kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And we service all of them. A lot of times I'll speak with a daughter who's been entrusted with her mother's care. And sometimes they'll say, you know, they call for a question, but then they unload, and I'll say, call if you want to cry, if you want to vent, sometimes they just need someone to say, you're doing a really good job and you're a great daughter. And it makes all the difference in the world.
Thanks.
So, yep.
All right, thank you. Doreen.
Thank you. Lisa, thank you, first of all, for all you do for our community and all our seniors. I want to get back to the food insecurity and the SNAP program. So I just want to clarify a couple things. So one, you know, people may not know they qualify because just because you work you can still qualify for SNAP. And I think that that is something that not everybody knows. They think that you have to be on unemployment. And the second thing is, and you kind of mentioned that everything's kind of discreet, and it's not like food stamps were 20 or 30 years ago. My understanding is that it's a card, and so it's discreet. You use it like a credit card in the credit card machine. So I just didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that, about the program. Is this just for seniors that you're offering, or is it the entire community, anyone who's dealing with food insecurities? And, you know, what's kind of the you know, without like saying what all the guidelines are, like what are the guidelines that could be misconstrued? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who are prideful and think, well, I'm doing this, so I don't qualify for this. And that's, I know that that's not true. You know, that that food is expensive, like you said, and for people to choose between their medication or their food, this is what programs like this are for. And so I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on all of that and your experience, which is a lot more than mine.
Oh, thank you. Well, you brought up some good points. And I believe changing the name to SNAP did correlate with the negative connotations of it. Certainly, we've tried to put out that there is no shame in it. If you need help, that's what we're here for, and we're not there to judge you. For example, about the income, if your household size of 1 with a monthly gross income of $2,147, you could be eligible for up to $234 with just food. Now, I think these are very reasonable numbers. There's a household of 4, you're able to earn $4,417 a month and get $782 worth of SNAP. They kind of told us to be a little discerning, like, you know, you go ahead and vet the client before you do the application, but I've never felt that was appropriate. I'll ask them the pertinent questions, but I feel like I don't mind doing the work. I don't mind asking the questions. I don't mind intaking it. And SNAP and SMOC alike, they're the ones who vet it and go through everything. And I might find that they pay $300 a month for a special inhaler, and that makes them qualified. So if anybody wants to apply, they can apply, even if they're on the cusp. I'm happy to do it. Did that answer your questions? Okay.
Great, thank you. Ms. Roy.
Hi. So quick question. Are there any resources online people can go review to find out on their own if they think they might qualify or are on the cusp of qualifying, so that they can, instead of just calling, are there any other resources, or is just calling what they need to do?
Well, we have a nifty flyer that we just got, so we're going to add details to it and put it all over the place. The SNAP is like a mass.gov program, so people can go and look up all the guidelines. I mean, a lot of people go ahead and apply online, but it's just as easy to, you know, call me and do it quickly and take that burden off them.
Would it be helpful if we had that link on the senior center page so that people could also do that on their own if they were feeling uncomfortable?
That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mr. Often.
Yeah, just an additional question, I guess. Is there anything that we can be advocating to our state representatives in terms of funding or grants, or, you know, what help can we provide you guys in terms of advocacy?
Well, I have to say that my director, Barbara Connolly, is amazing at getting grants. She applying for grants, and she gets them. She's tireless, and there's never downtime for her. She just constantly works and does extra things to get money for us. As you know, we're less than 1% of the budget, which is kind of why I mentioned the kids earlier, because it's the pie. I understand it's different, but that's the same amount of population. I'm sure we could do more with more resources, but I feel like Barbara has really got it under control. What I'd like from you all is, when we open, is to see more of you, because the seniors really enjoy talking to you. They want to be heard. They want their voices heard. They want their opinions heard. And when you guys come in, it's just a great atmosphere. And, you know, I overhear things that I might not here in my regular day, and then I could pursue, a solution to that too. So biggest thing is just showing your faces. I'd encourage you all to, come in and tell them like you're important. You're a population I care about. Because I think sometimes they don't feel listened to or heard. So that's the biggest thing.
You got it.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ms. Kelly, I know prior to COVID, we had I think all of us attended. I know I was a few minutes late for it, but I believe there was all 5 of the select board members that attended, and I thought it was fantastic. And I have to, I have to see about when we can get back in there and start up again. I know, looks like we're on the downhill trend of everything going on, but anything I can do to help promote once everything opens up and we can organize the select board to come in. When you feel that it's ready for the seniors, for everyone to come back, please let us know at your earliest convenience, and we'll see about making a similar appearance like we did before this all happened.
That's great. And I don't even mean like it has to be an organized event. Like if one of you has come in, bring donuts and coffee, like just stop by, be a part of it. And then they'll know your faces, and they'll feel comfortable asking you questions or asking for help or asking why is my road not sidewalked? I don't know, but so anytime, you're always welcome. I can't wait to open back up, but I know it's going to be a little bit of time.
I agree. Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Kelly? Well, I appreciate you coming in. I know you and I talked about this a few weeks back, and I want to appreciate the effort that you and Barbara and the rest of the Council on Aging does in learning more about SNAP and the designation, the training that you all have attended. I think it's a great asset for Grafton, but I'm encouraged to see how you're helping out other residents from other communities. I think this goes it shows that our relationship goes beyond our town borders, and hearing how you guys have helped other people, it's encouraging. And I want to know if there's anything else that we can do to the point of if there's additional monies that we can go after. I know Mr. Blake has been working diligently on that as well, and maybe more than one person scouring looking for grants. There might be some other opportunities, but I would hope and encourage Mr. Blake and Mr. Broussard to pursue those when they see them and work with you on securing them. So I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you wanted to update us on? Anything other senior center related or anything while you're here?
Let me see. I did have a few notes. No, I think I touched on everything. It being still a COVID issue and such a crazy year, we've really learned to adapt and I still go to people's houses, and even though it's kind of frowned upon in some of the circles, but we've managed to, I'm proud of us. We haven't missed a phone call. The desk was always manned. We all had our phones set up to return calls from home. Half the senior population has my cell phone, as do the police officers, as do protective services. And I'm proud of the work we did during COVID to make it work and change things to phone interviews and, go to a senior's house, grab their paperwork, come back, make copies, go back, get signatures. And so we haven't missed a step. We're still working as hard as we did before, if not harder. So I think we're in good shape for now.
Excellent. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming in. Thank you for giving us that update. And anytime you need to come back and update us, please reach out to myself, chair, or whoever the next chair is, and just get on our agenda. And we'd love to have you back and update us and give us any way we can help. Just tell us how else we can help you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you for being such a friendly board towards, affordable housing and low income families and seniors in general. I really appreciate it. I know you all care very much, and it means a lot to me.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Okay. Have a great night, Ms. Kelly. Take care.
You too. Bye, everybody.
All right. Next up on our agenda here was something that we wanted to bring back. And this was obviously when we had a different set of circumstances, but talk about amending our, let me just pull my agenda. Our current entertainment licenses to allow for outdoor music. Tonight, I have Mr. Blake here, who's going to give us an update on what that process would look like about amending our current existing entertainment license, in the event that they have to go back to doing outdoor dining and so on and so forth. So I felt that this was still a good process for us to go through to at least kind of have our due diligence done and just be prepared for the worst and just hope for the best. So if anyone has any questions before we get on, if you recall, this was as a result of looking at our existing entertainment licenses and not allowing any outdoor type of entertainment. So Mr. Blake, I'm going to hand over the floor to you and Mr. Broussard, obviously. So if you want to take the lead on this and show us what process you have in place and how you feel that this could be handled.
Sure. If possible, do I, pardon me, do I have the ability to share my screen?
You do now.
Alrighty.
Did that work?
Yes, it did. Can everybody see this? Excellent. So with the help of Bob Berger in the building department and Chris McGoldrick in planning, we set up an emergency 2021 summer season outdoor entertainment license using Viewpoint. So we took a lot of what we had in the previous license, business name, ABCC license number, contact information, and things like that. And that is what you'll find right here up at the top. As we move down, we specify what type of entertainment they're going to be using. So if it's a live band, a DJ, and then whether they're going to be doing acoustic music, amplification, things like that. If they pick a live band, they'll need to specify how many pieces will be in that band, give or take, so that way we know what they're planning on having at their venue. The times of the entertainment will need to be specified, as well as the location of where they're going to hold that outdoor entertainment, so we know what they're doing. And then following the same process that they used last year, going to the planning department and getting the minor modification of their plan to have outdoor seating. There's spaces here for that, the letter signed by Chris McGoldrick, and the site plan, so that way we have an idea of where tables are going to be, where barriers are going to be, and we really have a full view of what they're planning on doing with outdoor seating and entertainment all through one process. And this is actually the front end of the entertainment license, so this is exactly what business owners will see and what they would need to do. So that is sort of the quick and dirty rundown of what the emergency entertainment license is going to be. Well, the way we have it right now. We did send this off to each one of the businesses in town that currently have a music license to solicit feedback. We haven't gotten any yet, but the feeler is still out there in case there's something that they think is, too broad or too vague or anything like that. So that way, we can make it as business friendly as possible while also making it as thorough as possible. So that's sort of the quick rundown of what we got. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for that. Mr. Often?
Yeah, thanks. This looks good on the surface, I guess. I'm wondering, so I see there is some documentation from the town planner. Is there a different process that the business owner would go to submit their site plans and whatnot and get that letter?
Yes, so the way it was described to me from what they did last year, they met with the planning board and then Chris McGoldrick and outlined what they did. So pretty much they attended a meeting, presented what they wanted to do, and got the signed letter from Chris and from the town clerk to solidify everything.
Okay, so presumably that would be based on a site plan, correct?
Correct.
So will they be submitting that site plan in a separate form to the planning board, and will that automatically get attached to this application? I'm sort of wondering about the workflow. So as the business owner, am I going to have to go through, sort of several different steps, or is this going to be a joined up process where it goes, I submit something to planning, then that gets promoted to this application, and then it gets automatically routed to, who would approve it, which would then spit out sort of a certificate to the business owner? I know that's a lot of questions, but I'm just wondering about what the overall workflow would look like.
So that is an excellent question. the site plan that they submit to the planning board won't automatically be put into this form.
Okay,
They would need to upload that separately in that box. But I can speak with Chris to figure out exactly the process that they go through so we can streamline it as much as possible so they don't have to submit the same thing twice in two different places.
okay. And then once this is filled out, where does it go?
Once they fill this out, this goes to the town administrator's office, specifically Cindy and myself, as Cindy handles all of the licensing. The Board of Health gets a copy of it. Bob Berger and Chris McGoldrick are all on it as well.
I see. Okay. All right, I'll let other board members speak.
Before we go to the next question, Mr. Prasad, did you want to follow up on Mr. Often's question to?
Yes, if I may. So the way that we can streamline that process, and Will and Mr. Berger and I haven't connected on that, but what you can do is viewpoint can be the entry point. So if you're going to go to the planning board with that site plan, and we're calling it a site plan, but don't think of it as a site plan like you would need for site plan review.
Yeah, sure.
It's a, draw it on a napkin, give us an outline.
Yep.
We're trying to be as business friendly as possible. Don't do that in reality. It has to be a little bit better than that, but you get my idea. And so that can be the entry level point. So they can go put in all their information and request it. We now have it there. That can be sent to the planning board. The nice thing about viewpoint is that you can have multiple different outcomes from one point of entry. So when that applicant puts that in there, it can flag, Chris McGoldrick, and okay, now this has to go to the planning board. I'll get them on an agenda, blah, blah, blah. So the idea is to make it not any more arduous than it needs to be, but that, we can use the technology that we have and that we pay for to create a more streamlined entry into the process.
Thank you. Ms. Roy?
So I have a question. We just approved a lot of entertainment licenses, and when they go through this application process again, there's no fee attached to it, or would there be a fee attached to it? And also, people who are applying just to do outdoor dining but no entertainment per se, how would that work? Is there a separate license for that, or is it still considered an entertainment license if you're just doing outdoor dining?
So there would be no fee with this. This is the emergency entertainment license for people, businesses that have an entertainment license and now just want to move it outside with their service. In terms of just moving to outdoor service with no entertainment, off the top of my head, they would go through the same process they did last year with Chris and the things that we highlighted here. I don't believe there was a concrete form built for that, but I don't see why we couldn't do that with the time that we have before us.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Fazio?
Thank you. Just a clarifying question for myself. So I just want to know what the final step is in the application process. So, the policies were signed, the entertainment licenses were signed, as Ms. Roy brought up. So once they go through this application and it's approved, are we sending a policy back to them, like guidelines? I'm just trying to understand like the end of the process and what that looks like, just to kind of close the gap there.
So Viewpoint will, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Mr.
I said if either of you know, it may be a question for Chris.
No, I was going to let Will take that one.
So I was just going to say a Viewpoint does automatically populate a license or a letter of confirmation that they've gone through the process and we have all of the information. So we can mail that off to them, as well as whatever other relevant standards and guidelines are in place at that time.
Mr. Fazio?
Yeah, one more. Thank you for that. And then my last question is, does this have to be done on Viewpoint? Is it required for all the restaurants to do it this way?
You want me to take that one, William?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we're trying to steer everybody towards Viewpoint. If it was a hardship for anyone, they can just give us a call in the selectman's office and we can create a paper generated copy of the viewpoint process, and then we can manually upload it for them. The nice thing about Viewpoint is that's going to save everything in the cloud. So everything that was attached to it, every keystroke, every click that went into it, every time one of our staff members approves something, disapproves something, whatever it is. So we do want to keep maintaining that record. So we would just manually input it. But if it was a real hardship for someone, we would certainly, do that for them.
Great. That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, I appreciate you coming in tonight and discussing this. I don't have any questions. I think, one of them was just the workflow process that Mr. Often had brought up. And then, the follow-up, I think it was a good question, was about, is everyone being steered towards Viewpoint? And I like that idea as well. But keep us up to date and let us know when you make those refinements and when you're ready to launch it. I think we would like to know. So that way, if we get calls from some of the businesses, like what's going on, we can answer those questions. So, let us know when you're ready to, when you feel it's ready to launch out there. And, please remind people that it can be a work in progress and that, we can make changes to this over time to make it easier. So solicit their input. I appreciate you doing that with those businesses. And I guess we'll stay tuned. If there isn't, Mr. Broussard, did you have another question?
No, just as soon as you're done, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question. I just had a statement.
All right, Mr. Often?
Yeah, just one quick one. So hopefully this is sort of the template for our entertainment licenses and other licenses next year. I'd love to see the actual certificate that spits out. Hopefully it's not referencing jingle boards and muscle dancing as our previous certificates did. So yeah, when you guys sort of work through that process, I'd love to see what the actual certificate looks like on the other side.
Yeah, that reminds me, Mr. Often, before you go on, I mean, who authorizes and makes those changes? Is that our change because it's a license? That's not something that, do we need town meeting for? I mean, I guess I'd like to know that.
It's my understanding that anything that comes out on that certificate of approval is your discretion. I do believe that, and I wasn't here for whatever it is you're referencing there, but I do know that what happened is there was one company that made all these certificates for a long time, and a lot of towns had them and kept them. And so they referenced things that were no longer valid or very old, kind of arcane language. And they just never perpetually got updated. So the nice thing about Viewpoint is we can create whatever we want that certificate to look like when it spits it out. It still comes out with a nice border and has all of that stuff. So you can, if it's required to be displayed, it doesn't look, just like a computer printout. But it has whatever we want on it. And I do believe that's your discretion.
Okay, I think that was something that we wanted to discuss, I think, a few weeks ago. But Mr. Often, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry. It's something I'm really interested in tonight. I think we want to be putting our Board of Health and police chief in a good situation as we think about opening outdoor entertainment. So I think, maybe for a future discussion, we could consider, is there any additional language or guidance that we want to provide with those certificates in order to, make sure that that enforcement activity is as robust and sort of straightforward, I guess, as possible.
Okay. All right. We'll work on, yeah, I guess, is that an action that you're going to need from the board at a future meeting? Like that's what we want to do. And we just, take a vote on that for you, Mr. Broussard, going forward.
I don't think that you necessarily need to vote that. I think we can just ask William to handle that, and he can reach out to the Board of Health and the chief and see if there's any documentation that they want to have included with that license when Viewpoint spits that out for the end user. Because that's the other great thing. We can just plug it in there, and when the email gets sent, that's all attached to the same thing. And Bob's your uncle. We're done.
Okay. All right. Good. Did you have one comment that you wanted to make, Mr. Broussard?
I did. I just wanted to thank Will for his work on this. So he originally drafted a very nice looking paper document, and then being the bureaucrats that we are, we said we should do something different and made him do it again. And he had to learn how to both log into Viewpoint and use the software to create his own template and do all that work. So, I think there's some little tweaks that need to be made, but I think it was a really great effort, and I think it's going to work very well.
All right. Thank you. I agree. Thank you very much, Mr. Blake.
Thank you.
All right. So last but not least, I know Mr. Often has a hard stop here at 7:45, but as part of the onboarding, we wanted to have a discussion and just review our current goals that we set back in from a couple of workshops we had in the fall with Mr. Terenzini while he was here for his temporary status. And now Mr. Broussard's here. I know he's had a little bit of time to review our goals that a lot of them go out to 2024. But I wanted to just bring this up as a discussion with the board. I know we all collaborated on these goals and we approved them. But I wanted to just open up the floor. If anyone had any specific questions, do I need to screen share just so people can kind of take a look to see where we are with things? All right, I can do that. Give me 1 second. I'm just taking me a second here. And here we go. All right, can everyone see that okay? All right, so here's a list of our goals back from that we agreed upon in November. I think we've done a few things right off the top of the bat here, but just wanted to kind of go down the list here and just get feedback from the board on things that we could potentially cross off as completed, or should we reprioritize? Just, again, allow to have an open discussion and questions with Mr. Broussard if he had anything general that he wanted to touch base with this board. So I'll open up the floor to anybody who would like to go first. Ms. Roy.
We can cross off that first one, hiring a town administrator.
I would agree. Mr. Prisby?
Yeah, just getting to the second one, hiring a grant procurement officer. Obtaining grants is something we've talked a lot about in conjunction with budgeting and, lessening the burden on taxpayers. And we had, I think, discussed perhaps hiring somebody. But I had a conversation with Evan, and I know Evan had thoughts on that. So I was wondering, if you could share those thoughts publicly, that way we could have a discussion as a group about maybe what we want to do here or not do here.
On grants and procurement officer.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, I think that it's definitely something that's necessary. We are doing a lot of grants in-house, spread out among the different departments, and I think that works all right for the level of grants that we're doing. If you were to go back 10 years ago and the amount of federal grants that were available and the amount of labor that was involved in that, I think that that would be more of a pressing issue for me. I do think a procurement officer is necessary. Again, doing the amount of procurement we do, I don't know that you need to spend, $100,000 on a staff to do that. I think that you could roll that into, an existing position for a fraction of that and get the same result. Because while you are a larger community and, you're getting close to 20,000 people and doing a lot of work, and the department heads are shouldering a lot of that procurement, I do think that, if you had somebody that had 10 to 15 hours in their schedule a week and that's what they focused on, you'd be able to attain the same thing. Is that what I had said earlier, Mr. Frisbee?
It is. And that was something I think that, we had struggled with because we saw, I think, the former administration sort of get bogged down with how time consuming it was to fill these things out, how much expertise I think people kind of need for these things. And I know that maybe the public doesn't see it that way or wouldn't even know to see it that way. But there is sort of, there's an expertise issue and then there's a time issue. And as we've talked about in other contexts, the staff in the municipal center right now is burdened. with work. So we want to be conscious of the amount of people that we hire and the outlay for the taxpayer on staffing. But at the same time, we don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish and, be throwing money away that we otherwise would have been able to apply for. So, I'm not sure if that means expanding the hours of the staff that we have within the municipal center now, bringing in somebody part-time who is familiar with this. I don't know, but I think that's something that's probably worth talking about as we go through budget season here, because I know there were proposals for increased hours already in the office. And I know that, we're probably going to be looking for, job descriptions and an idea of exactly who is doing what in the offices right now.
Absolutely.
Mr. Fazio.
Thanks. Just to kind of add to that too, I recall we had talked about structuring this particular role, just to kind of give Evan a little bit of history on this, to have a grant and procurement officer together. And I completely see your point too, of just having it be, added on to either a current position with more hours. But I think also the thought of taking the burden off of staff of the time consuming just responsibility of filling out grants. If you have someone who's a good grant writer and is bringing in funding for the town, then it's sort of like Ed said, penny wise and a pound foolish not to do it, because we're going to be receiving funds to pay for this additional position. And typically someone who's is good at filling out tedious grants is also, has the same skill set for procurement as well. So I think that was when the board had the discussion during the goals meeting. That's how we kind of looped that into one position. But I also understand your vision as well. And I think out of the two of them, I mean, it's hard to say which one is more important, but I think the procurement might be more needed because we do have a lot of staff who currently writes their own grants.
Yeah, if I could, I think I've only been here, obviously this is the beginning of my third week, but your staff are doing an excellent job of going after and acquiring grants. I'm seeing it all day, and people are really chasing those dollars. And there's, while there may be or probably is opportunities left on the table that we need to figure out how to capture, or maybe be able to go after some of the grants that are more time consuming than they are valuable when you have only a certain amount of hours in the day, right? You're not going to spend 5 hours on a $2,000 grant when you can spend, 10 hours and get a $500,000 grant, right? I mean, we're seeing some pretty big grants come through. DPW just got a dump truck paid for primarily with a grant. And I mean, things that I've never seen people go after, and they've done a fantastic job of it. Procurement is definitely an issue that needs, I think, a more dedicated staff to address, because in procurement, consistency is the key. They build relationships, they build rapport, and then they also are able to, figure out the best way and best times to go out and do things. So there's a big difference for putting out your bid in January versus putting out your bid in June when you're doing outdoor construction. Right, your price is best in January. So if you don't have the staff to get it done in January, you can't get it done till March, April, May. Your costs have just gone up, and we've kind of left some money on the table there. So definitely something to keep discussing, and I think we'll be able to solve that.
Great. Any other questions, comments? So I know there's a few on here that I think we could cross off too, and if the board agrees. Hired a management analyst and comm specialist. Welcome, Blake. Mr. Blake. We have brought aboard a financial director in the accounting office. And I think there's some other ongoing items down here. I know that it started kicking off with 27 Upton Street. And sidewalk program, we've had some progress on here in a short amount of time since November when we put this out to the staff. Does anyone else have any updates or anything else that they feel should be updated in this or expanded upon? Ms. Roy?
I just need to have my memory refreshed. Where are we on the taxation aid committee? Did we pass a charge for that, or are we still waiting on that one?
Did the charge for that, I think.
I remember seeing one, but I thought there was something about reaching out to stakeholders and just confirming they could be on it. And I just can't remember if we voted on it or not.
If the board would allow me, I can work with Mr. Broussard on chasing it down. I was part of logistics and everything over the past few weeks. I know Miss Oliver had weighed in on this from the assessor's office, and I think we were waiting. I don't know if we were waiting for the finance director to be hired or if we had all the pieces in place. But if the board would allow me, Ms. Roy, I can circle back and get an update for you all next week on where the status is. If they're waiting on something on us, then we'll get it scheduled. If we're waiting on something in addition for timing with staff, then we'll get an update on the timeline for that. Does that work? Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Broussard, did you have any questions for us as the board? Like, how do we come to these items here from our meetings? And
Not particularly. I mean, they all seem pretty straightforward and reasonable goals, to be honest with you. I don't see anything that is, outside of the scope of where I think you need to be headed. I like that you hired a new town administrator. That worked out well. Finance director worked out pretty well. I'm happy with that choice as well. William's working out well. No, I mean, all kidding aside, they seem like pretty reasonable and achievable goals. And I think they're going to push Grafton in the right direction.
great. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I can stop screen sharing if everyone's fine with that. All right. Like I said, I wanted to give this an opportunity just to bring these goals up. We should be bringing them up on a regular basis at our workshop as often as we need to, but I felt it was prudent here with Mr. Broussard starting. If there was any questions or concerns or something that stood out, this was the opportunity. But I think if this is it, this is by far one of the shorter meetings that we've had in quite a while. I won't continue with the discussion if we're all set and we're up, and that's all I had for the agenda tonight, unless anyone has any other questions on the goals that we presented. And I've got one takeaway here from Ms. Roy. I'll follow up with you either tomorrow or Thursday with that, Ms. Roy, and then what those actions are, and then we'll bring it to the board's attention at the next meeting and update everyone. All right. I think at that point I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All those by roll call, please. Ms. Roy,
Roy, aye.
Mr. Fazio,
DeFazio, aye.
Mr. Frisbee?
Aye.
Peter Carlson, aye. All right. Thank you very much